Hi, hello, welcome to our podcast Kadhai Payanam. I'm Rakshana. This is episode number 1. There are 5 parts in Ponniyin Selvan novel. Each part has separate set of chapters. In this episode, I'm going to tell you the first part of Ponniyin Selvan, New Floods. Chapter 1, Adi Festival. We welcome our readers to get into the boat of imagination and go sailing down the flood of sourceless, endless time. Let us travel a century for every second and quickly reach the times of 1,000 years before the present. In the southern end of Tirumunaipadi, which lies in between the Tondai kingdom and the Chola kingdom, about 2 leagues far to the west of Thillai Chitrambalam, Chidambaram town, there spreads an ocean-like reservoir. It is known as Veera Narayana Lake. It is about a league and a half long north to south and about half a league wide east to west. Time has twisted its name, for these days the reservoir is known as Veeranathu Lake. In the windy months of Adi Avani, August month, when new floods fill the reservoir to almost overflow, anyone who looks at the Veera Narayana Lake will surely recall the pride and astonishment, the splendid deeds of our ancestors in Tamil Nadu. Did those ancients do things merely for the welfare of themselves and the people of their own times? They fulfilled tasks that would benefit thousands of future generations in their sacred motherland. On the 18th day of the month of Adi, in the early hours of the evening, a young warrior mounted on a horse was riding down the banks of this ocean-like Veera Narayana Lake. He belonged to the Varna clan, which is famous in the history of the gallant Tamils. Vallavarayan Vandiyadevan was his name. Having travelled a long distance and being worn and weary, his horse was walking along rather slowly. The young cavalier did not seem concerned about the horse. The sprawling reservoir had so enchanted his heart. It was common for rivers of the Chola kingdom to run with floodwaters touching both banks during the Adi month festival of Padinattam Perukku. The lakes fed by these rivers would also be filled to capacity with waves jostling and colliding upon their embankments. Water from the river called North Kaveri by the devout, but commonly known as Kollidam, rushed into the Veera Narayana Lake through the Vadavaru stream and made it a turbulent sea. 74 floodgates on the lake distributed the bounty via aqueducts to distant tracts of the countryside. With these irrigation waters from the lake, activities such as ploughing, sowing and seed transplanting were being carried out as far as the eye could see. Here and there, the song of farmers who were ploughing and women who were transplanting created a pleasant and joyous music. Listening to all this, Vandiyadevan was riding quite slowly without prodding his tired horse. As soon as he had climbed the embankment, he had started counting the floodgates with the intention of finding out if popular claims which declare the lake to have 74 floodgates were true. After having come about 1.5 league along the bank, he had counted 70 gates. Aha! How huge is this lake! How wide and how long! Can we not say that the tanks built by the great Pallava monarchs in the Tondai kingdom are mere ponds and pools compared with this immense reservoir? Did not Prince Raja Aditya, son of King Parandaha, who conquered Madurai, think of building this great tank to conserve the waters of the North Kaveri, which were going wastefully into the sea? And did he not execute his thinking into action? How great a genius he must have been! Who can we compare to his brave nobility? During the battle at Takkolam, Did he not, riding an elephant, go to the forefront and single-handed enter combat? And in the course of that confrontation, did he not receive enemy spears on his chest and give up his very life? And because of it, did he not get the title Deva, who reposed atop of the elephant as he departed for the heavens, mean for the brave? These kings of the Chola dynasty are remarkable. They were just as just, they were brave. And as in justice, they excelled in the veneration of their gods. Vallavarayan Vandiyathevan's shoulders swelled with pride when he thought of his good fortune in having received the friendship of a Chola prince of such a dynasty. Just like the waves that dashed against the bank of the lake because of the western breeze swift, his heart too bubbled with gratification and pride. Thinking all such thoughts, Vandiyathevan reached the southern end of Veera Narayana lake. There he could view the panorama of the Vadavaru stream separating from the North Kaveri and falling into the lake. For a short distance inside the embankment, the lake shore was silted, forming a sandy beach. A number of casuarina trees and wood apple trees had been planted on the beach so the rising floodwaters would not destroy the embankment. Gnarled reeds had grown thickly along the water's edge. From a distance, the scenic view of the rushing waters from the tree-lined North River merging into the lake into the southwest seemed like a colorful newly created painting. Vandiyathevan saw a few other things that increased the pleasing joyousness of this enchanting scene. Was it not the day of the Adi festival? Crowds of people from nearby villages dragging their carts covered with canopies of sandal-colored, supple coconut leaves were coming there. Men, women, children, and even several elderly folks, all wearing new clothes and vividly dressed in various ways, had come. Bunches of fragrant flowers such as the heart of country cactus, chrysanthemum, jasmine, gardenia, chambaka, and irvachi decorated the brides of women. Several had come with families bringing stewed rice and fancy picnic foods. Some stood by the water's edge and ate their picnic rice dishes from platters of plantain flower petals. Others, more brave, had ventured further into the water to cross over to the bank to the Vadavaru. Some children threw the platters from which they had eaten into the floodgates and clapped their hands with laughter to see the petal float through the gates to be rushed onto the canals. Some mischievous young men plucked the flowers off the heads of their loved ones and threw them into the water, merely to see them being cast upon the shore. Vallavarayan Vandiyathevan stood there watching all this for a while. He listened with an eager ear when some of the girls with pleasant voices sang. They sang traditional boat songs and flood songs as well as folk songs like Kummi and Sindhu. Come, O ye young maiden, look at the North River bubbling by. Come watch, O ye friends, look at the white river rushing by. Come all ye girls, to look at the Kaveri tumbling by. Such flood songs pleasingly flooded the ears of Vandiyathevan. Others sang ballads about the bravery and fame of Chola kings. Some girls sang of Vijayalaya Chola, who had fought in 32 battles and had worn his 96 body wounds like ornaments. Others sang acclaiming the bravery of his son Aditya Chola and how he constructed 64 Shiva temples all along the Kaveri from where it rose till it mingled to the sea. One girl sang the fame of King Aditya's son Parandaka Chola, who had not only conquered the Pandya, Pallava and Chera kings but had also sent an army to Lanka to hoist his victory flag. When each girl sang, several people stood around her listening with rapt attention. They applauded with loud shouts of "Aha!" and expressed their happiness. An elderly woman noticed Vandiyathevan, who was sitting on his horse and listening to all this. "Thambi, you seem to have come from a long distance. You are tired. Come down from your horse to eat the stewed rice," she said. Immediately, several young girls noticed our youthful traveler. They whispered amongst themselves about his appearance and laughed merrily. Vandiyathevan was overcome by a certain mortification on one side and delight on the other. For a moment, he considered dismounting and eating the food offered by the old woman. If he did so, the young maids would surely gather around to tease and laugh. So what? Is it easily to behold so many beautiful maidens in one place? Even their laughter and teasing would be heavenly music. In Vandiyathevan's eyes, all those girls on the lake shore appeared like the heavenly nymphs Ramba and Menaka. At the same time, he noticed something towards the southwest along the flow of river Vadavaru and hesitated. About 7 or 8 large boats with white, spreading sails filled with the breeze were coming swiftly like white swans floating with widespread wings. All the people engaged in various merriments turned to avidly look in the direction from which the boats were coming. One of the boats came forward more swiftly and reached the lake shore, where the embankment turned west. Several well-built footmen carrying sharp and shiny spears were in the boat. Some of them jumped onto the lake shore and started showing the people with shouts of "Go, move." Before being pushed around too much, the people picked up their containers and belongings and quickly started climbing up on the bank. Vandiyathevan couldn't understand any of this. Who were these men? Who were coming in the sailboats behind them? Where were they coming from? Perhaps they belonged to the royal household? Oh, it's time. Did you get the answers for these questions? I will tell you all the answers in the upcoming episodes. See you soon. Thank you for listening and supporting me. Bye bye.